Okay, I'm back. We're going to do some waxing now, some dark waxing. And I'm going to do this drawer here, but let me show you what I'm going to use first. I'm going to start with some Annie Sloan black wax. I'm trying to see where it says black, but maybe it doesn't. I always buy the like small can because I don't use it a whole lot. And I'm going to be using some clear wax. Actually, we'll pop the top off this dark wax so you can see it. And so that's the dark wax. And I'm going to be using this clear wax from Bear. So this is the Bear clear wax. And I'll show you what that looks like. Get that off. So you can see in there, it's not white. Well, it's kind of white, I guess, but it goes on clear. All right. So what I'm going to do with the dark wax, the clear wax I'm going to use right out of the container, and I'll explain that in a bit. The dark wax, I'm going to actually put a little bit on this paper plate here, and I'm just using a popsicle stick, which I use pretty regularly, and I'm just going to put a little gob on here, and you can see that that's probably more than enough. If you wanted to, you could thin that out, not thin it out, but dilute it a little bit with clear wax, which makes it not so dark. But for my purposes today, I'm going to use it for dark wax. So I'm going to take this drawer out. So again, I have already top coated this drawer. What the top coat does is it gives a protective finish so that the wax doesn't get sucked up into the paint. If I were to have just put the wax on here before I top coated it, it would be very hard to control, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. I use an old chip brush. This is a chip brush that I've actually already dark waxed with. I run a metal comb through it so it's stiff but not hard, okay? And I'm going to mix this, squish this wax up just a little bit so I even often take, because I hate to waste it, I'll take my brush and brush it right off the popsicle stick. So again, we're gonna dab that in there, and then my goal here is to darken this up a little bit. This purple down here, oh, you can't even see what I'm doing. This purple down here isn't quite so bad. But we're gonna put that over because it's already a pretty dark color, but you'll see when we get to this one that makes a big difference. And it takes the like brightness, I guess, out of the color, and that's exactly what I want. I don't want these colors to be circus colors. I want them to be very muted. This very bright coral, we'll do a good brush over on, okay? And then we're gonna let that sit for a minute. So here's the thing. When you do dark wax, or when you do any wax, you have to take it off. So you can't just leave it on. So my goal here will be to wipe it back a little bit. Now again, like I said with the purple I wasn't too worried about because it's already a pretty dark color. But this green and this coral, I don't want to take too much off, but what I do want to do is so I've wiped it back. You can see where it's come back, and I'm going to do a little bit of that on the coral. I may actually do a second coat. I think I am going to do a second coat of dark on the coral because I really want to mute down the brightness of the coral. And I'm going to let that dry for a few minutes. And then what happens with the clear wax, I'm going to take another clean cloth. And this is just one of those like shop cloths. And I'm going to actually, I'm going to take some of this clear wax and I'm going to put it on. You're going to see I have very little on the cloth, okay? But it acts as an eraser. If you can see here, it acts as an eraser to the dark wax. So if you've over waxed something on purpose or by mistake, your clear wax can take it off. Now, let me just tell you, keep in mind, I'm using Annie Sloan Dark Wax and Bear brand Clear Wax. So this isn't about a brand. This is about what can happen with furniture wax, okay? So the goal here is to, I don't want this to be, I certainly don't want lines or circles, but I don't want this to be all, I want the middle lighter and the edges darker, okay? So let's just go back to this the coral one, and I'll just do a little bit of clear wax on there just to, as you can see, the middle will be a little lighter than the edges. Now, the other thing with wax is that once you've waxed it and it's kind of dry, you can buff it out. So I'm hoping you can see this. I'm going to go back just a little bit. So the more I buff it, the shinier it gets, okay? And that's not because of the top coat underneath it. That is the nature of the wax, itself. So typically I would let this sit for a little bit before I would buff it. And I'll let this one sit for a little bit. But that's the beauty of wax, that it's right now this looks super dull, but once I've gone over it with a buffing cloth, actually I can probably do this one already, it will shine up, which I don't know if you can see that from where you're at, but I can certainly see it here. So it went from dull to just a little bit of a sheen, which is kind of a look I like. I like that little bit of a sheen on it. This one, I may go over the coral again. I'm not super thrilled with it. But that's the beauty of this, is beauty of paint, is that very few things are permanent. So if you were to have waxed something and you don't like the look of it, you can, the only thing that's going to take it off so that you can repaint it would be mineral spirits. So if you waxed it and you hate it, you can repaint it, but you're going to need to use mineral spirits to really dull the wax down. And leaving wax, it takes about 3 or 4 weeks to really harden so that it's a real solid finish. But it's good to use right away, but it'll take about 3 or 4 weeks before it fully cures. All right, that's it. See you soon.